All right, let's get into it. Today, we're plugging in and cranking the volume on one of the most infectious, physical, and downright influential genres ever created, funk. We are going to deconstruct what makes a beat so funky, build the ultimate funk machine from the ground up, and oh yeah, we are definitely going to learn how to slap the bass. Let's do this. See, funk isn't just about the notes you play, it's a whole philosophy of rhythm. The real magic, the secret sauce, is in the spaces between the sounds. It's those little pockets of silence that build anticipation and just make you have to move. Think about most pop music you hear. You're usually following a melody, right? A singer's voice. Well, funk just throws that playbook right out the window. It pushes melody and chord changes to the background to put one thing, and one thing only, front and center. A deep, hypnotic, undeniable groove that you feel deep in your bones.
To really get funk, you have to start with its central organizing principle. It's the anchor for the entire genre, the North Star of the groove. And it's called the one.
Before funk, a lot of pop music lived on the backbeat, the two and the four. But James Brown, the true architect of funk, he famously told his band to put all their energy, everything they had, on the one. This created a downbeat so heavy, so solid, that every other instrument could just dance around it with these wild, syncopated rhythms. It's the point where everyone comes together. And you can really see here how funk's laser focus on the one sets it apart from its relatives. Soul is all about that backbeat, and disco drives forward with that four on the floor pulse. But funk, it's all about that heavy downbeat. And look at this. The bass and guitar are suddenly promoted to lead percussion instruments. That completely reinvented the whole idea of a rhythm section. So if the one is our anchor, how is the rest of this incredible groove built? Let's pop the hood on the funk machine and see how all the interlocking parts really work together. Okay, here's a key innovation of funk. They actually slowed the tempo down compared to a lot of other pop music. Now, why would they do that? Well, it created space, and in that space, you could fit a much finer rhythmic subdivision, the 16th note. This grid right here, this is the canvas. Instead of just 4 beats, you suddenly have 16 little slots in every single measure for instruments to drop their notes into. That's what creates that super complex hypnotic feel. In funk, every single instrument basically becomes a drum. The drummer, of course, lays down the foundation. The bass locks in, yeah, but it's also creating its own funky counter rhythm. The guitar, it's not strumming big chords, it's just adding texture. And the horns aren't playing long, soaring melodies. They're hitting you with these short, powerful blasts. They're all interlocking parts of one single rhythmic engine. Let's zoom in on that guitar for a second. This chicken scratch sound is absolutely essential. The guitarist is barely pressing on the strings, just enough to get this muted, scratchy sound. See, it's not about melody at all. It's about filling in those tiny 16th note gaps in the groove. It's pure texture, pure rhythm. All right, we've built the engine, but now it's time for the superstar component, the sound that is arguably the most recognizable element of funk. We're talking about the slap bass. It's a great question, isn't it? Because that's literally what happened. The bass was freed from just thumping away on root notes and became a lead percussion instrument. And the story of how that happened is just, well, it's a story of pure creative necessity. I mean, this is the perfect example of how limitations can lead to mind-blowing innovation. Larry Graham wasn't trying to be some kind of revolutionary. He was just trying to solve a problem. His band didn't have a drummer, so he turned his bass into a one-man rhythm section. And in the process, he completely changed the role of the bass in popular music forever. So the thump from the thumb, that's your kick drum. The pop from the finger, that cracks just like a snare drum. And then, in between, you get these ghost notes that fill out the groove. Thump, pop, thump, thump, pop. That's the code right there. So we've got all these technical parts, right? The one, the 16th notes, the interlocking instruments, the slap bass. But when they all come together perfectly, they create something that's way more than the sum of its parts. They create a feeling. And you know this face. You've seen it. You've probably made it. It's that involuntary grimace you make when a groove is so deep, so nasty, it's almost painful. Your eyes squint, your lip curls up. That's the funk face. It's just your body's way of saying, wow, this is just too good. Musicians are always chasing this thing called the pocket. It's this kind of magical, elusive place where every instrument is perfectly in sync, creating a groove that just feels effortless. It's not robotic. It's got this human push and pull.
Being in the pocket is the absolute ultimate goal for any funk band. So what's the recipe for finding that pocket? Well, you need those perfectly interlocking parts we talked about. You need that tension that comes from syncopation. You absolutely have to have that space between the notes. And then you need that collective human feel. Sometimes the whole band will play just a tiny bit behind the beat to give it that laid-back, heavy feeling. So what happened once this amazing blueprint was created? Well, it pretty much became one of the most important foundations for popular music for the next 50+ years. The funk blueprint turned out to be incredibly adaptable. It went from James Brown's raw rhythm to Sly Stone's psychedelic funk to George Clinton's cosmic P-funk. Then it got absorbed into the DNA of 80s pop by huge artists like Michael Jackson and Prince. And of course, it became the literal bedrock of 90s G-funk hip-hop with Dr. Dre. Its influence it's everywhere. And it's important to distinguish funk from its 70s cousin disco. Funk is usually slower, grittier, with way more complex, interlocking rhythms. Disco kind of streamlines that, speeds it up, and puts that kick drum on every single beat to make it super easy to dance to. One's a complex machine, the other is a sleek limousine. If you need any more proof of funk's incredible legacy, this is it. The DNA of funk, especially the drum breaks and bass lines from James Brown's records, is literally the foundation that hip-hop was built on. That rhythm is eternal. So we've seen how funk is built. It's an architecture of rhythm, right? A machine designed specifically to make you move. It's a blueprint for a very specific, very powerful feeling. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought. If funk is the code that unlocks this feeling, what rhythm is the code that unlocks you?